Welcome to another video. I am the Starman and I am on a bit of a trip for this video. I'll tell you about that in a minute. In this video I want to try and tell you how to photograph the Milky Way, and I want to try and keep it as simple as possible, and I'm going to show you how to do it in the daylight. I know that sounds a bit daft, but I was out here last night. I'm actually down on the south coast of the UK. I'm in Devon. And there's a good reason why I've come down here. In fact, I was doing a workshop, an astro workshop here. But what I want to do is I want to try and show you how to get a good photograph of the Milky Way. Nothing fancy, single shots, no composites, no fancy using trackers or anything like that. I want to try and keep it as simple as possible. This is where I am. I'm in the county of Devon, which is pretty far south. And like I say, there's a good reason why I'm down here. You see this thing over here? That's called the Daymark. We'll have a closer look at that in a minute, because what I want to try and do is show you how to get a really nice photograph of the Milky Way with a landmark in the foreground as well. That would be quite nice, wouldn't it? Of course, the Milky Way is everything that we see in the night sky, apart from the Andromeda Galaxy, because the Andromeda Galaxy is the only thing that we can see with the naked eye that is not a part of our galaxy. So everything else is a part of the galaxy, but what we're trying to do is we're trying to photograph the brighter part of the Milky Way. So the plane of the galaxy is a disk, it's a flat disk, and we get to see it, the plane, the galactic plane rise like that. It rises across the night sky, and we're trying to capture that part of the sky. Now, we're now at the end of May. We're coming up to the best time of the year to photograph the Milky Way, because we get to see the brighter part of the galaxy. In the winter, have you ever looked at Orion and you look above Orion, and if you're ever anywhere really dark, you get to see like a really nice subtle glow of the Milky Way. It's not as bright in the winter, and the reason for that is because we're looking outside, towards the outside of the galaxy. Well, at this time of year, we're actually looking more towards the inside. We get a view towards the inside of the galaxy, and it's a lot brighter. There's star clumps, there's clouds of stars. It's absolutely insane. If you ever get to see it, I do recommend it. It's absolute. If you ever go anywhere dark like the Lake District down here on the south coast or up in Scotland, I mean, it does depend on the time of year as well. Now, like I say, I've come down here. Now, the main reason I've come down here is because I'm a lot further south than where I live. I'm about 3.5 degrees further south. That makes a massive difference at this time of year, because if I was in Blackpool now, the sun would barely set below about maybe 14 degrees below the horizon. So we have an everlasting twilight, and that's only going to get worse as we get towards the solstice. Anyway, before I say any more, I'm going to take you down to the tower. We're going to have a look at that, and then I'll show you how I've set up to take some shots of the Milky Way. Now, this tower, which is called the Daymark, and you can see it over there, is really easy to get to actually. So the car park's there. It'll only take me about maybe 10 minutes just to get into a position where we can get a good photograph of it, and that's the same for night as well. It's always better when you can get to a location fairly easily without having to climb over mountains and things like that. This is a very, very easy location to get to. Okay, so here we are, and this is the Daymark. Isn't it amazing? This was built in 1860, and it was a navigation aid for ships coming in from the English Channel, which is just over there. You can just about see the horizon there, and the port of Dartmouth is just over here. So there you go, that's what this building was used for, and what an amazing subject to have in the foreground for a shot of the Milky Way. And here's another thing as well. I did mention that just over there is the English Channel. Now, what does that mean? It means that there's going to be no light pollution over there. We're not looking over any towns, cities or anything like that. So if we take a photograph at night looking that way, the sky is going to be absolutely as dark as it can be. And that's another thing. If you're trying to photograph the Milky Way, you want to try and get somewhere as dark as possible, and this is about as dark as it gets. Okay, I've just set up my camera here behind me as I set it up last night to take the pictures. So what I'll do is I'll go through the settings on the camera now, and then I'll show you the picture that I got from this very spot last night. Okay, so here's my camera, which is a Nikon D850, and the lens I've got on it is a 24-70 f2.8, and I'm going to be shooting at the wide end, so I'm going to be shooting at 24mm on this lens. And I've got a lens hood on it as well, which is quite important at night because sometimes you can get dew on your lens, you know, it can fog up, so it's good to have something on your lens just to help stop that you know, dew forming, something like that, you know. As you can see, we've got a nice view of the tower here, and you can see it on the screen there. Can you see how I've got the tower slightly off centre to the right there? What the idea is that the galactic band at night rises in the southeast, which is that direction there, and it comes over like this on an angle like that, can you see? And that would look absolutely amazing, sweeping across there with the tower there. Now we're looking for the Sagittarius region. The Sagittarius region is the direction of the core of the galaxy. The constellation of Sagittarius looks a bit like a teapot. You might have seen it in other videos that I've done in other pictures. It's going to come up somewhere over here and it's going to rise. It doesn't get very high. It probably barely gets halfway up the tower here, if at its highest point, before it starts to go back down again. But that's what we're looking for. That's what we want to try and get in this picture. You might also notice as well that I've lined up the tower here so that we're looking straight through this arch here, and that we can see a little bit of light through the other arches as well. It's about as bang on as I can get. It might not be a massive deal, you know, if you're trying to get a picture, but if you want to be a perfectionist, it's not a bad idea if you can get your building lined up so that these features, you know, are even. So there you go. Anyway, I'm now going to show you the settings. Okay, so like I said, keep it as simple as possible. Can you see now? I've got here ISO 6400. Yeah, I'm shooting at the widest aperture, f2.8, and I'm going to be shooting for 15 seconds. Now the way I get to 15 seconds is I use what's known as the 500 rule. Now the 500 rule is a way to get pictures of stars, Milky Way, all that sort of thing, and not have trailing stars, not have smearing on your stars. What you do is you divide 500 by the focal length of your lens, and that gives you the correct exposure where you won't get trailing stars. So let's say you're using a 24mm lens like me. 24 goes into 500 21 times. So that gives you a shutter speed of say 20 seconds. But what I do is I go one better than that. I drop it down to 15 just to make sure. Because I think there's still a little bit of trailing on my photographs. Maybe it's because it's a high resolution camera, but anyway, that's just me. I knock it down to 15 seconds. Right, okay, so now it's time to take the picture. I put the camera on self timer here, as you can see, and then I press the shutter button. There are the settings, remember? Press the shutter button, and this is what I got. Now then, look at this. Look at this. Like I say, this is as simple as I can make it. It's a single shot on a tripod. No fancy trackers, composites or anything like that. This is the shot I got. Just look at this. Isn't it absolutely amazing? We've got the galactic band there on an angle coming across. Looks absolutely amazing. We've got the tower in the foreground. I've made sure that I got the field as well. I'm not sure if it's a wheat field or what, I don't know, but I needed to have a little bit of foreground. And the way that I managed to line up the shot, remember I took this at night in the dark, so I had to take a few test shots first to make sure that I'd got it lined up. Now I had to just take a few test shots and move the camera a little bit until I got it just right. But anyway, look at this. We're looking towards the heart of the galaxy. We're looking into the center of the galaxy. You can see it behind the tower there, the bright star clouds. And unfortunately for us in the UK, they don't get much higher than what we see them here. Like I say, they barely rise. The brighter parts, I say, they barely rise. The core barely rises above where the tower is, from where I am now. But as you can see, absolutely amazing. I'm just going to mark out some of the constellations now so you can see. You can just about see a piece of Sagittarius there. Just above right of the tower, can you see that bright thing there? That's the Lagoon Nebula, one of the most amazing, famous nebulas in the whole night sky, the Lagoon Nebula. And another thing as well, if you look towards the right hand side, can you see we've got a pretty amazing group of stars there, and a nebula, like a really nice nebula, looks absolutely amazing. That's where the bright star Antares is. That's the constellation of Scorpius, and there's a little area there called Rho Ophiuchi, and it is absolutely amazing area of sky. Now what I want to do is, now I want to take another photograph, and this time I want to put a different lens on, and I want to try and bring that area there on the right hand side, Rho Ophiuchi, closer to the tower, and see if we can make a feature out of that. So let's try that then, shall we? So there you go. How about that? Absolutely amazing, wasn't it? Like I said, I'm trying to keep it as simple as possible. 24mm ISO 6400 f2.8, and for 15 seconds, and that's what I got. Now I did play around with that picture a little bit in Photoshop just to bring it up a bit. I lifted the shadows and all that sort of thing just to make it look a bit, but there you go. That's all I did to get that photograph there. It's more about the location, timing, all that sort of thing. Anyway, we're going to ramp it up a little bit now, and I'm going to use a different lens. Check this out here. Can you see this? This is a 50mm f1.8. It's one of the cheapest lenses that you can buy. You can buy one for your camera. You can get them really, really cheap. This is probably about £150 because it's autofocus and all that fancy stuff. Anyway, the aperture on this lens, the wide aperture, can you see, is f1.8. Yeah, so it lets twice as much light in, but it's also twice as long a focal length. So what we need to do is we need to dial down the exposure. Now, remember I talked about the 500 rule? 50 into 500 goes 10 times. Now I think that that might be just a little bit long. So what I'm going to do is, for the next photograph, I'm going to put this camera on the lens and I'm going to take the exposure for 8 seconds. Anyway, let's line up the shot now. Right, so as you can see, I've now put my 50mm lens on there now, and if I show you the screen, now then, look at the difference on that. Look how much closer that is. We're now seeing pretty much what we see with our own eyes, because the 50mm gives that sort of field of view, you know, similar to what you see with your own eyes. So there you go, we're a lot closer to the tower now. But the problem is that that star complex was over here, yeah? I want to try and get that closer to the tower. So what I need to do is I need to move up the road, and when I move up there, I should be able to get that star complex somewhere up here, and we'll still have room on this side for the core of the galaxy. It should look absolutely amazing. Let's see what we can do, shall we? Okay, so I've come up the road. This is what I did last night, by the way, and we should be able to get that star complex closer to the tower from here. We're a little bit further away as well. Now we've still got the settings from the old, when I put the old lens on, so what we need to do is we need to dial down the aperture, because that's set at f2.8, so we need to go down. Let's go down to f1.8, as wide as it'll go. We also need to dial down the shutter speed. Now if you are using the 500 rule, it's not a bad thing, you know, you can if you want. So that would be 10 seconds at f1.8. I'm going to use the same ISO for this picture. I'm going to go down a little bit further down to 8 seconds, and that's going to be the settings for this photograph of this tower here, with the Milky Way here, the core of the galaxy here, and that star complex just up here somewhere. So let's take the picture now and see what we get. Now then, check this out. Can you see what I meant? I think you can. Just look at this. Isn't this absolutely amazing? We now have a more compressed view of the tower against the stars in the background. They look closer together. I'm using a longer focal length, and just look at this. Isn't it absolutely amazing? We've got the amazing star fields of the center part of the galaxy on the left hand side of the tower there, and as you look towards the upper right of the tower, we've got that star complex I was talking about, which is known as Rho Ophiuchi. It's almost like as if the stars were part of it's almost as if they've broken away from the main part of the galaxy, and they've like left a trail of dust along the way. Isn't it absolutely amazing? And that's the picture I took with a bog standard lens on a tripod for 8 seconds, f1.8, ISO 6400. I've played around with it in the Photoshop just to boost it a little bit, but there you go, that's what you can get. You don't need an expensive lens, you can get a really cracking shot of the Milky Way. It's more to do with timing and location. So there you go, that was my little video on how to shoot the Milky Way from here at the Daymark in Devon, UK. Wasn't it absolutely amazing? Isn't it amazing what you can get with nothing too special equipment wise, and just using a normal tripod, and even using a cheap lens like a 50mm as well. Anyway, I've tried to keep it as simple as possible in this video. I couldn't shoot at night, it was too dark, and I was busy doing other things as well. So I hope I've given you an idea of how to do it by showing you where I set up during the day and then showing you the photographs I took at night. Anyway, I hope you liked the video, and I hope it helps you. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to end the video now, and I'll show the pictures again with the settings just to remind you, and I'll also show you an amazing picture of the moonrise, because we had the moonrise around about 1:30 last night, and it looked absolutely amazing. It looked almost like, the picture looks like a sunrise. Wait till you see it at the end of the video. The moon coming up over there, it looked really, really eerie. Anyway, that's it for this video, and I hope you like it, and if you do, hit the like button and also hit subscribe and tick the bell for notifications of new videos, and I will see you again next time.